SEC Media Days. Shaud out in Andrews, Texas. How we doing this morning?
Doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. We queued up that big run for you to bring you on with. I mean, you know, that's still got to be a hair on the back of your neck type moment, right?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely one of my top 5 all sports performances in my life. So that's up there. That's a story I'll be able to tell my kids someday.
So, Shaud, here we sit at 2016 SEC Media Days, and it's been 13 years, man, since you walked into this hotel as a part of the Alabama contingent. Does that register with you that it's gone by that fast?
Golly, man, you make me sound old. I feel old now. 13 years ago. There's a lot has changed in 13 years. Oh my goodness. But
so,
with that being said, I can remember it just like it was yesterday. I mean, it was a great experience, and I enjoyed it.
Now, Shaud, there is a borderline, and I was here for your visit, but I don't recall it as well, but it just seems like every time Alabama rolls up here for SEC Media Days, it's almost like a boy band or a rock band or, Michael Jackson almost in his day entering a hotel. Do you recall that being the case when you went to step into the lobby, and was there a pretty good turnout of Alabama fans that greeted you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, regardless of records and what's going on, I mean, it's still Alabama football. And fans are still going to be excited, and fans are always going to come out and support. So I remember showing up to the hotel, and there was a lot of Alabama fans in the hotel lobby, and there was a lot of tension surrounding us. Obviously, we had just got a new coach at the time, and so there was I think they kind of added to it. There was a lot more attention placed on us. But I just took it all in, man. I'd never been a part of something like that, so I just kind of took it all in and tried to enjoy the moment.
Now, Shaud, the ride over from Tuscaloosa, let us behind the curtain just a little bit now that we're well removed from your visit. How much coaching up was there of you guys in terms of what to say, what not to say? Now, I know you were pretty savvy in terms of dealing with the media. You were very good in that regard. But did they coach you guys up a little bit on the way over? How does that ride go from Tuscaloosa to Hoover?
No, I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot of coaching up. It was myself and Derek Pope, I believe, and there wasn't a whole lot of coaching up. There was just, they were just reminding us of things. If there was a question that we didn't feel comfortable answering, just say no comment, or I don't feel comfortable answering that question, or if you don't understand the question, make sure you ask them to repeat the question if you don't understand it. And that was really it. Myself and Derek Pope, like you said, we were fairly well-spoken guys. We weren't going to say anything that was going to incriminate ourselves or anything like that. So there wasn't really a whole lot of coaching going on. I think the thing that I remember the most is they just telling us, just relax, just be yourself, and just, enjoy the moment. Because, myself and Derek Pope, we had never been a part of something like that. So the main thing that Coach Shula was telling us, just be ourselves and, represent Alabama in a good way and just have fun with it.
You mentioned Mike Shula. Talk about the lead-up to that July, though. Dennis Franchione leaves, goes to A&M. Mike Price comes in, very short stint, fired before the end of spring 2003. And then, of course, here comes Mike Shula about a week after that. Obviously you were asked a ton about that situation. And looking at some of your quotes, here's one right here. The players just stayed together. It was hard. It was a hard time for all the players, but we just tried to be there for each other. But it wasn't just the coaching changes either, was it? It was the fact that you also were dealing with some probation and some issues like that. Talk about what that team sort of went through and the decision they made to sort of keep it together when the opportunity was there to do something else.
Man, I can't say enough about that group of guys that were there at that time and went through what we went through. when the probation came out, any junior or senior would be able to transfer without losing a year. And of course, I had already just transferred in. I didn't want to transfer again. But at the same time, I believed in that group of guys that was in that locker room. We had put in a lot of work. We had worked hard together. And, we made a commitment and a promise to each other that we were going to always have each other's back. And, we were going to ride this thing out no matter what. And when all that went down, we had a meeting. We said we're staying. We're going to finish what we started. And that right there kind of let me know a lot about the group of guys that I was surrounded by and the guys that I call my teammates. I mean, there's guys on that team that I still talk to this day. And that was just like a very special group of guys. And I'm just honored that I got to be a part of it.
Tough season in that there were a lot of games that year that you guys were in on and had a great chance to win. I think Tennessee obviously comes to mind probably more than anything else, and not to open old wounds here.
I still have nightmares about that. I still wake up sweating thinking about that game.
That was one certainly. Even Oklahoma that year, as good as they were, and I think they went on to play for a national title that season.
They played
LSU.
I believe in it. Yeah.
LSU, you guys faced the two teams in the national championship game, I guess, in 2003, right?
Yes, we did. We sure did.
And so, it was not an easy road in terms of the schedule when you look at it. You had the trip to Hawaii, I guess, at the end of the year. But, just looking at the position that you played in general for Alabama this season undergoing some real turnover, obviously. When you look at Derrick Henry going out the door, Kenyon Drake going out the door, a couple of new guys in Bo Scarborough and Kenyon Drake trying to step in there. What do you think are the one or two most critical factors in stepping up into that role? Something that you did in 2002 and 2003, and what are you going to be looking for from Scarborough and Drake as they Scarborough and Harris as they make that move into the premier roles?
I think the main thing when you step into that role, the one thing that I told myself is that I'm going to be an unselfish player. I'm going to do whatever is needed of me to do in order for us to win games. And I think when you're stepping into that role, and obviously and I think that's been the case with all those guys that have stepped up. I mean, even going back to Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson and Lacey, those guys stepped up, and you can just see that those guys, they were unselfish. I mean, they gave it everything they had, but they were unselfish. You could tell that they wanted to do whatever was best for the team to win games. And that was kind of my mindset. I would tell the coaches, hey, whatever y'all need me to do, I'll do it. You need me to return punts, I'll return punts. You need me to, catch passes, I'll do it. And I think that's what any running back or anybody that's stepping into that role, I think that's kind of something that you have to tell yourself, or that's kind of a role you have to take on. You just got to be unselfish. It's got to be about the team. And I think if you put the team first, everything else falls into place after that. What
are some specific areas, and we're talking with Shaud Williams, former Alabama running back, great years in 2002, 2003 for the Crimson Tide. What are some specific areas, Shaud, where unselfishness shows up at the position? Is it pass protection? Is it some other areas? Where can you look kind of quickly and see those characteristics that you're talking about in terms of how they come out on the field?
I think pass protection is, it's the most obvious factor that would show your unselfishness. Being able to pass protect, being able to sacrifice your body. Another thing is when you're carrying out a fake. Obviously, I believe a lot of eyes are going to be on Scarborough and Harris this year. So anytime those guys have a chance to carry out a fake and open up the pass, I think that'll be another area that they can show their unselfishness as well.
Yeah, really can influence defenses, can't you? When Alabama and teams can run the ball like they can, not only the quarterback, right? Not only the running back, but the quarterback in terms of play fakes and all those things.
Absolutely.
It's such absolutely a benefit when both those guys are doing what they can, and receivers running out routes, right? I mean,
no doubt.
How many times do you see it? How many times do you see it? The ball's not coming my way, or we're running the football, and receiver barely gets off the line of scrimmage.
Exactly, and that all plays into it. Everybody has to take the unselfish role. I mean, those receivers, when it's a run, I mean, they got to block. You know, they gotta get out there. They got to get dirty. They got to block. And then when it's a pass, you know, just like we said, those running backs need to carry out their fakes to get those, maybe get those linebackers to suck up a little bit or whatever it may be. I mean, it's just all about being unselfish and doing whatever is best to help the team win.
Shaud, when you watch this offense under Nick Saban, do you maybe sometimes catch yourself envisioning yourself within it? And at your size, it isn't necessarily, you're 5'7", 5'8" back. You wouldn't necessarily associate a guy of your size with an offense like this. But what do you think you could have done? And you did it, really, because Mike Shula's offense in some ways, at least conceptually, was somewhat at least like what we see from Alabama these days, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it's the same. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of this spread phenomenon that's going on with everybody else. Alabama has always been a team to line up, and they're gonna have a fullback, they're gonna have a tailback that can go, and they're gonna line up and they're gonna run the ball, and that's gonna set up the passing game. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They run the same plays that we ran with Coach Shula. A lot of the stuff looks to say the power, zone,
right.
Sweep. That's all stuff that we ran with Coach Shula. So, I mean, it looks basically the same to me.
Do you think playing in that offense, even for just a year, helped your prospects with the NFL? Being able to play in that type of offense in 2003, do you think that benefited you when you made that move to Buffalo and the NFL, or do you think that even another year in Fran's offense, it would have been about the same result?
No, I think being in Coach Shula's offense really helped me because his was a pro-style offense, just as far as how we read the linebackers, the blocking scheme. So when I got to Buffalo, it was the same concept. They just might have called it something a little different, but it was the same concept. It might have been a different protection, or it might have been called a different protection, but it was a protection that I was already familiar with. And so I think it really, really, really helped me being in the offense with Coach Shula because it was a pro-style offense. I mean, they called it just like they did in Buffalo, the pro-style, the long, drawn-out plays and everybody's tag and everybody. Yes, I mean, and so I think that's
huge,
really helped me a lot.
How big is that?
It's huge.
How big is that?
It's huge.
I mean,
it's huge.
What was
because
what was the difference? What was the difference? Let's say, give us a play call for Fran in terms of terminology, and then give us one for Mike. Just an example if you can remember.
Okay, for Coach Fran, it would be like Lion 24 power, and with Coach Shula, it might be eye right, motion the twins left, 60 power kick, and that's basically how they kind of call it in the NFL. They call the motion.
And there was there a check with me in that too?
Oh, absolutely.
With Mike?
Absolutely.
And that's a difference too, right?
A check with me. Yes, absolutely. They'll give you a check with me. They'll call eye right, 60 power check with me, and the quarterback, he's got to come up there and he's got to make an audible. I think that definitely helped me as well because, I mean, obviously at the NFL level, they may send you in there with 3 plays, and there's a possibility that it could be one of those 3 plays. So, I mean, you got to know what's going on. I mean, you got to know. You almost got to know before the quarterback knows what play you're fixing to run.
Had to be a big benefit for even Brody Kroll too. You talk about preparing him for what he was going to see as a quarterback, I would think. But hey, Shaud, there's a lot of stars here. this week, but none bigger than number 21, Shaud Williams.
I appreciate
we
that,
appreciate you joining us always, and always a good time when we have you on. Always insightful, a lot of fun to talk to, and we're going to do it again as we get closer to the football season, man. I know you guys are probably getting after it out there in Andrews, right?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I was on my way walking home from the weight room. I walk to and from the weight room every morning. So I was just on my way walking home when you called. So, yes, sir, we're definitely getting after it. The kids are working hard, and we're getting ramped up, ready to go.
Shaud Williams, head strength and conditioning coach at his alma mater, Andrews High School out in Texas, and always a lot of fun to catch up with Shaud Williams. Shaud, thanks again, man.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me on. Roll Tide.